Hello again. We are inside the Little Jewel, reporting direct. Last episode, we set up this cool steering column using muffler bearings and go-kart parts. You'll have to check out that episode. I was going to mount that in here today, but I decided since we have some new parts, that probably isn't the priority. So let's just say priorities first. Steering wheel mount. The angle is going to change with what we do with this cab and these brand new parts. So I think we're going to use the crane. We're going to do some envisioning. We might fasten some parts. Let's put this on the side. Yeah. 1932 Ford Fenders. Gonna thank my friend Tom for those. I kind of got to thinking, remember that hot rod called Lil Coffin? The way that the fenders jutted out, and some of the Ed Roth cars, the fenders kind of came out. Lil Coffin had a very low nose, but it did have a V8 in the front. Ed Roth's cars, some had the engine in the back, some had the engine in the front. This one's got it in the middle, thusly not having that radiator pronounced up here, and we can have this really deep cavity. I love that. It's got quite a look, huh? But here's the thing, that's the fantasy imagination world. This suspension is going to be traveling. Right now, the fenders are touching the tires. That's not going to work because you're going to be rubbing. So I started to think, man, what if we could make the fenders really close to the tire and they could steer? They could steer with the tires, but when the rear swung, it's going to hit the cab, definitely. So that kind of nixed the idea for me. I could cut them a little bit, but I really wouldn't want to get into more than this. So that's definitely not enough turning to get this long wheelbase vehicle to get around. But I love this. Am I wrong about this? That's a look. So got to thinking, we have to bring this up a couple inches minimum. So the cab looks awesome like this, but it is super low. And that complicates a couple things. I talked in the other episode about how these springs are definitely going to hit the grill at this height. I'm not trying to smash it all up. Another issue I'm concerned about is back here. Now, I got this suspended by the crane at a height that could be its ultimate low point, simply because the air is going to travel through the cab in a duct. There's going to be a big hole in the wall. And you can see right now, the radiator, that's how I ended up with this height. The radiator's maxed out because I don't want to mess with cutting this apart and moving the glass, etc. So seems like the path of least resistance is going to be to raise this cab up. Now, I really don't think that's a deal breaker. The fender looks pretty good. Coming in this orientation, this is almost leveling out right here. But again, the fender's going to raise up. So right now the cab, it's about 3 or 4 inches lower than the fender, right? So if we raise the cab 6 inches, that would give us clearance and the door would open above this fender. But I don't know if 6 inches is too much. So this is the reason I bought the crane. This is the reason I built the crane. So I could do all of this theorizing. Everything's on board. So let's raise this up. Let's see what happens. I think I have to move this strap because I did some adjusting. There's a happy medium in this strap where the cab balances. So let me get to that. Right now I was picking up the rear of the cab. So the strap is a little bit in the wrong spot. It is on some blocks right now in the rear, and a 6-inch raise will be pretty significant. But let's see what happens. This is the whole thing with not wanting to get a gantry or another, car lift or anything. We're working like this on 4 wheels, intact, ready to go. So right now the front of the cab is on the chassis. The back is up a bit, about 3 inches. So it's gonna bring it up. Yeah, it's pretty level. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at the radiator and the orientation to the cab. And that's way higher than 6 inches up. But it's starting to look more like a truck now. Let me show you what I had under here. If I can find 4 of these, we are golden. Oh no. I put these big hardware as spacers. So these are measuring at only 2 1/8. So I was saying 6, and I have a bunch of square stock here. Yeah, I found these square tubes, and this measures in at 6. So maybe I'll stack these on the frame. If I can find 2 more, let me look around. So we're gonna end up with a 6.5-inch rise in the back. So I'll stack one of these and one of those. I really don't wanna raise it this much, but let's just see. At least we'll have a good base to judge from. All right, so while I was hunting around, this thing was cutting, and I found these for the front because the rear was on those 2 1/8 spacers, and the front was flat on the chassis. So, these are a little bit less front to back. Should maintain some of that orientation I had, but just raised higher up. All right, these are taller, so they should hit first. See, I'm just sitting them right there, and there's a big structure on the rear of the cab, which is awesome. So 2 of these in the back, and the other one's in the front. And drop it down till it starts to touch something. I felt it touch. Now we are way off side to side. But does that look too tall? Here's the conundrum. I mean, it does look better this way. It really helps with that radiator. One of the things I was getting towards, now that's really hitting a lot, but trying to get this, under here. This cab is not even close to centered. Yeah, that looks a lot closer to center than it was. All right, so this is on that hole. I'm gonna gauge the center right here. It's on that inner hole. So we are sort of close. The cab is pretty close to centered. Let me drop it so that it's firmly on those 2 pieces. It's kind of in flotation mode right now where it's shimming around, it's shifting around a bit. So try to land it. Yeah, now it's touched. And now the front's got to be adjusted. And the difficulty in that is that there is almost nowhere to push. Let's try this. Yeah. All right, so that's lifted. I'm gonna try to put these blocks where they matter, which is, how's that cab look? Pretty level? I can set that right there pretty good. Okay, so here's the thing. That's definitely higher, 6.5 in the rear and quite a bit in the front. It's setting on its pads. But this is what I'm thinking about. The front is going to get a little bit lower as it gets heavier because that's kind of a static position of the leaf spring, so they'll sag. But the rear with the airbags comes way up. So when I'm driving it, the angle of this cab is going to be raked up in the back. So at this height, I want to look a little bit down because those bags are deflated. And I really feel like we've achieved that. It looks great with the radiator. And you know, it's still not too high up. It's taller than I was hoping. But I'm just saying, sometimes you got to give to get. So, you know, this Fender, see, if we put that block for suspension travel, that might land just underneath the door, and that's what we want. Let me get 2 blocks, I'll raise that, and then I'll raise this. Got these rubber snubbers, so that's what I'm getting at. This is just representing an air gap, right? So the fender stays up. And I mean, that totally works right here, right? We're looking at this. That's what we want. I just feel like it's too tall. It's starting to look like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, not in a good way. That car, what? Well, standing back here, I mean, I guess it kind of works. Put my glasses on. Let me rethink this. Well, I don't mind that. I kind of love how the fender and the headlight interact. It just tucks through. Sort of has the same feel, but, you know, it's definitely more sprung. It's up. But you could see how the fender, if it was attached to that tire, it definitely would not steer. But we want the fender to come in. Well, either way, we have something established. The cab can stay there for now. Maybe I'm going to cut this fender. Okay, we're back. I, in fact, did not have any respirators, so went a quick trip to the hardware store, and I got a box of N95s. Little fit test. You're good to go. Now, not only are they dust protection, they make a darn good party hat. So let's continue with our protection in place. Just a note to all the younger fellas out there, you only get 2 pairs of lungs, all right? I'm 55 years old. I feel like I've used about 50 to 60% capacity of these bad boys. I could have done better. Did a lot of stuff without using my noodle, and that actually goes here, not there. We're gonna do that when we cut. See the shape of the truck. We want this to be right up against it, give or take, maybe even a little bit more. But this is our big fail right here. We're not gonna need this hood latch like it had on the 30 deuce. Let's just bring this right to here, like that. And then we'll bring this to there. Yeah, let's get this whole thing out the way. We can move this in. Are we on the right path here? We got about that to the cap. Yeah. You fellas in Australia can take a drink. I think I mentioned they have a drinking game in Australia where every time I say, yeah, I have a sip. So, yeah, let's cut this. Apparently I say yeah a lot. Looks pretty savory. That's what I was saying. We want that just below the door, so we're close. By doing that notch, now you can take this and move that. Now this is gonna have to steer, and we'll address that as we go on. I'm not opposed to trimming this up, but it does have that such a nice bead right there. So we're gonna have to get with that, but this looks good. Yeah, that helps a lot. Yeah. I just said it again. I like it. I like the fit. This tire has to turn a little bit. Let me raise this up. I do this so much. You know, the mock-up, the mock-up, the mock-up, but here we are on another one because that's what it's all about. You just get a little weight off this tire so I can turn this. That's what I'm talking about. I like that right there. Let me put a weight on this. Well, let me drop this. Yeah, I'm gonna put a weight on the back of that. You know, that's putting that fender horizontal. That's what we want as it goes into the running board. So that's good. Our dust has settled. I don't expect to cut again for quite a bit. So let's put this in a baggie. Now I love when the tire faces off with the fender like this, but it's not gonna steer. There's a lot of room inside for it to steer. So I guess what I'm getting towards is we're gonna have to center that like this. That definitely gives it enough room to, oops, I lost it. And that's cool. And that's it. That's a considerable amount of steerability. But do we like it? Do we like it? Let's take a look, because I don't like this. That side profile, I am hip to it. See that little footrest? It's coming in directly below the door. That's good. Love how much room we have here for the radiator. Be able to do something right off of this body line, but I don't like this. Let's put this right here. Ground level, right? We're looking at this thing coming up. We want that low. So what's the answer here? I think this is the answer. See this angle? And this angle? I think we cut this off. We build a pan down here. I said I wasn't going to cut, but now I'm going to cut. I'm going to do this with the disc so it doesn't rattle. I have a cool metal blade. Let me get the respirator and we'll do some cutting. All right, well this is exciting. I blew my microphone right off. I might have to do a walk around. So now, let's pay attention to when we use the air hose, because the box is empty till we get some new ones. All right, let me check this audio. Okay, we got a little breeze fluttering the camera while the door is open, but I just want to take a moment while this dust is out of the way, and before we close shop back up, I love this. I love the way the tire fits in the fender. It has room to steer. Cut this flange off. Now we want to drop this down. So let's shut the door and get back to work. All this adventure. Dust masks, microphones, and lungs. Oh my. Okay, so I guess from now on the show is just going to be called Envisioning Hour with Ian Roussel, where we talk about all the things that could be. No, I see it. I thought I saw it, but now I see it. I wonder what happens if we do dual microphones, if it's just really going to sound like in stereo. Because we do dual mics when we have two people. Hey, I'm going to roll with it. Let's find out. Got our microphone back. It flew in the air and magneted right to the floor jack. So, win-win. I don't know how it's a win. Oh, it's a win because we got it back. So, man, I was hoping to see this axle, right? But I think this is going to come down. Let me grab a piece of cardboard if we have one and talk about that. Yeah, some people will get the joke. But this isn't actually a pizza box. Did I make a joke? It's actually a belt-driven fan box. We all know that it's not the ethereal extra-large pizza box. If you're an old-school follower, you'll know it. right? So this is what I was saying, right? That angle jives with this. Does it not? It does right there. So maybe this doesn't turn forward. Maybe this turns back. Man, is history repeating itself? Is this just like the same thing we're doing with the Volkswagen Bug with the fiberglass fenders and the metal body? I don't know. What's my career turning into? Just talk? I thought I was making some action. I like this. I really like this. Because if you think about it for a quick minute, does a designer actually do anything except this? I want to see something in this shape, feeling a certain way. Yes, they have that accent. Ask me how I know. I've worked with designers. So yes, I am seeing, oh, and I have a French heritage, so. I think it is looking more with this feeling in the front. Wait, that's a German. Maybe I'll just stick to my roots. And then we're gonna curve this a little bit. So it's got a little turn coming in, and I'm gonna have to face this with round rod to finish that. Oh boy, here we go with another cut, but that lunging forward, that feels a lot better to me than this weird turnaround. But instead of cutting this, let's work on this pan. Let's actually do something out of metal. This time's a wasting. I'm working on finishing the railing pickets on our front porch. How are the dual mics sounding? This might be a hit. Yeah, doesn't that illustrate? Sorry. I mean, I feel like this really illustrates, you know, the flow, the feeling of the forward gripping. As I mentioned, that Lil Coffin, the Starbird, I think it was somebody else's work also, but I saw it at Starbird's. So this pan, you know, be about as wide as the hardware, I think, if not a little wider. So I'm measuring 44, so if we make it 48 inches and we put a roll on the front to turn down, you know, this needs some travel still. So let's turn it down to about 8. So let's go 44. Let's just pull it into here just because we got 44 by 21 plus 8. Let's just make it bigger than it needs to be. So let's make it 44 by 29. Let's go to the table and cut that out. Pardon my self-loathing. It takes time. Things take time. I keep reminding myself. Not a spring chicken with the deadline of building a car a month anymore. Some people could stare at this all day. I'm making moves. What do we say? 44 by 29, but we're gonna leave it at 48 so we got some extra. Pull this tape out, make a cut. You have to go get a new piece of steel. It's a big project. 44 by 29. Having a lot of year-end sales I'm seeing. I'm gonna go down to the supply. I like to go to Harbor Freight. This isn't an endorsement, but their stuff works. It's inexpensive, and I might get a hand shear, a power shear. Need to get a couple other things, like this truck's so heavy it blew out the floor jack. I had 2 floor jacks under it, and one of them, like the little plunger on the piston, ejected. I no longer deem that safe for operation. And I can deem when I want to. Grab that grinder. Is this respirator a New Year's resolution? I don't know. I hope it doesn't go to the wayside like so many other New Year's resolutions, but for today, we got no regret. Making it happen. I'm gonna bring this over to the sheet metal brake and put a hem edge on it. It's one of my biggest problems with every type of respirator is when you do work like this and your hands are really filthy and they're on and off a lot, they just get disgusting. So what I'm going to try to do is keep a Ziploc handy. That's what I'm working with right now. So every time I take it off, it goes into the bag. All right, so I got that locked up there. Got that locked up here. So I'm doing this because we're gonna have to put like a rolled edge on this. And this will give it a lot of stability. Cool. Now we're gonna close that. I think a lot also, you know, it's my own self-consciousness. You know, does this get redundant for the viewers? You know, how many hem edges have I performed? Not only for the camera, but in my career. So this is a staple. This is like tying your shoes. Does that get boring to watch? Does it get boring to perform? Is it a necessity? It's a lot of thought for a Monday afternoon. Let's lay this on the truck and see what's happening. So truthfully, I just didn't have enough cardboard to do this, so that's why I'm doing it in steel. We're gonna go right through. Steel is the template, right? But then what do we want it to do? Right there. We want it to look as low as possible, but remember, this is not moving with the axle, so this is going to come up. So maybe we just bend that thing. Maybe we just bend it naturally by hand. Let's see what happens. I say we clamp this in the brake. We just pull it down. We can always adjust. A lot of times I'll use a tube, some other contraption. Let's see what that does. Now, I definitely don't want to flip this machine over. I told a story about how that happened once. And yes, I know. But I don't have the capacity to mount it to the floor right now. Just put a mark 3/4 of an inch out. In my career, I've moved so many times. These wheels have really helped me out. Long term, I'd like to either bolt it to the floor or put it like on a big skid so you step up on it. And I thought that would be cool because whatever shop I do have, forever shop scenario, I can use that a pallet jack to move this around instead of these sketchy wheels that are starting to really fall apart over the years. That's how that handle on the other side got broken. What if we just did a little bit like this? I don't want to put that harsh line in there. Maybe I should take this stuff out of my pockets. It's pushing on it unevenly. Yeah, the edges always start to show a little bit more than the center. But I don't mind that because we don't know what we're looking for. But I am looking for more than this about 45-degree bend. I'm looking for it to turn way down. Let's go a little bit more. It'll be easier to pull it back up. Yeah, let's just push it max. Right to where I can get. All right, let's take a look at that. Actually don't look that bad. Let me put this piece of wood here. All right, so imagine that. All the noises. I'm gonna put a riser block on this axle because we definitely want to have room for this to move. Let's see how that works out. There was actually a couple people that were saying, yeah, do a shelf in the front. It's kind of like an air ram effect. But this wants to come down. Okay, let's put it in that tool again. Actually, maybe I'll put it in the slip roll. Do I want a slip roll? Yes, I do. Let's put it in the slip roll and then I'll push on it. The reason I question, do I want a slip roll? Because I want this as an ellipse. You know, I want to type into a radius, you know, like a spiral out kind of thing, not just a circle. So this might just offer that. Maybe if I just put it in here, there it is. Whoa! That's why they call it a slip roll and not a slip still. And it'll roll right out on you. I almost really cut myself on that metal. That was my big guffaw, chortle noise I made. Yeah, okay. That is obviously sketchy as heck. Instead of doing that, let's just roll it up. Let's just see what happens. It does give it a little shape. I think this side's a little tighter. Yeah, bring this in a little bit. Let's run it through. Okay, now that's trapped. Do a little pull. Let's give a little wheel. I also love the suggestions about putting a big wheel on this for leverage. Again, shop space is limited. Who knows what the future holds? Yeah. Yeah, that worked. I added considerable more bend to it. Yeah. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere. Let's see if I can get that to hold that up. Sure can't catch a break. Try to put a clamp in there. So this looks decent. I love how that comes through. Put this right to there. Put this right to there. So I'm actually just going to use the truck as the position to bend. Put those two in place. I'm just going to push down on the center. Yeah, that rolls it down. Is it as low as I would like? Of course not. Is anything as low as I would like? Let me get something to hold that up. But, you know, it's a truck. And I don't really need a sidewalk scraper. Yeah, I'm glad I did it 48 because look at that. It lands on the truck. Now, it does seem like it's pushing down a little bit. I don't know. Let's stand back and look at this. Then I'm going to put this into place. So revisiting this, yeah. Let's try this out. Yeah, I just said it again. I don't know. Is it looking like a Tonka truck? Is it working here? You know, this is how dreams are made. One big question mark at a time. I feel like this wants to go rearward. Because if you're looking here, you know, this does come right to the rim. But I think it loses some of that jutting of the fender. So let's just say, let's clear this. I'm gonna knock this out. Not the same here. I'm gonna make some more room for this to move inward. I have one last gag. You know, this is starting to make some sense, but I had this weird vision. In the wee hours of the night, I have this part laying over there. I'm not sure. You know, I was thinking about the cowl vent. I don't have the original cowl vent anymore. I mistakenly threw it in the pile when the scrap fellas came. Sure, I could get another cowl vent. Then I thought I had something else. That could be a vent. We're not talking about that just yet. Stay tuned. Try to tighten this up. Try to get these gaps a little closer in the back and get the front of this a little bit tighter to the axle. Yeah, it's better. Okay. I like that. It's not even with the axle front to back side to side. But, yep, that's a lot better. So let me trim this. Now, if I could find steel 32 Ford Fenders, it would be a different story. But I don't have any steel 32 Ford Fenders, so we're using fiberglass. So I could go two ways in the way I would describe this. It's got kind of that 60s show car flavor I mentioned with the little coffin. I like this angle. That's a little bit weird, but hey, I'm a little bit weird. This could run on and on forever. I'm gonna think about this. Because it could be throwing me off because this side is just so, that's gonna be more like that. I feel like the pan towards the grill opening needs to come up. Or maybe I sacrifice a little bit and bring it down there. And I'm not saying I want more of a roll, although I could do that. Maybe I roll that down more. It's something to think about. Let me grab this other part. Let's end this on a good note. So is this where it gets really wacky, or is this where it starts to make sense? It's definitely too big. It's definitely too long. But cowl vent? Does it add? Does it detract? Is it even in the center? I tell you, this is what they is what they mean when they say anything goes. Let's try to get a good front 3/4 on here. All I could say is if I had no other responsibilities in this lifetime, I would probably be setting up a cot in the back of this shop, grabbing some food from the local fast food parlor, and a case of adult beverage, and continue on this journey. Because I think we're starting to hit a sweet spot. We got the crane, we got the cab height, we got some radical fenders, Alcoa rims, and there isn't an adult beverage in sight for another number of hours because I got to go fix front porch like an adult. I got 2 microphones and a turntable. No. I got 2 microphones and a cup of coffee and a dream. Is it starting to look like something more than it was? Sure is. Love the negative space. Love the jutting fenders. All that's left to do is everything. See you then. Next time, in continuum. On to the next challenge. Here we go.